richest countries into one of its poorest. Low wages, high inflation, shortages, outages, 8 million people fleeing. If you think New York can somehow reinvent this wheel, you're in for a rude awakening. Zoran can't make your wishes come true. You're thinking of Zoltar. Democratic socialism is like a dating profile. Things look great until you meet up in the real world. For example, Bernie Sanders, his big thing was always bringing single-payer health care to our country of 340 million. But when liberal, tie-dyed Vermont tried to do it for a population of 626,000, it collapsed like that poor f*** in the Oval Office last week.
Once again, Bill Maher has sparked outrage among Democratic Socialists. In a segment that was both sharply critical and comedic, the outspoken host explained why he believes rigidly adhering to socialist ideas can lead to trouble. He claimed that, like it or not, capitalism still delivers better results than their preferred system. At the center of his critique was Zoran Mamdani, and Maher certainly didn't hold back. Buckle up, this one gets heated.
Must recognize that Zoran Mamdani is the future of the party. Unfortunately, it's the Republican Party. Get it? And if you missed his victory speech in last week's mayoral election in New York, don't worry, you'll see it in every attack ad for the next 2 years. Now, Mamdani seems like a nice guy, and I congratulate him on an extraordinary political achievement. But before the whole left side of the country catches socialism fever, let's listen to the other big winner in last Tuesday's election, Virginia Governor-elect Abigail Spanberger, who, before the 24 election, said things like, if the party didn't shift to the center, we will get torn apart. And we need to never use the word socialist or socialism ever again. Well, she was right, but they didn't listen. Typical, am I right, lady?
New Yorkers brushed off Abigail Spanberger's warning and went ahead with electing a socialist anyway. And honestly, this feels like classic Democratic behavior. They're great at giving speeches, holding press conferences, and talking strategy, but when it comes to actually addressing real voter concerns, they always seem to miss the point. It's the same pattern every election. The party shifts further left, insists everything is under control, and then reacts with surprise when the results prove otherwise. What makes it even more puzzling is that more than half of Americans have clearly said they don't want socialism. They don't want its policies, its economic risks, or the instability that can come with it. Yet the DNC keeps moving closer to the very ideology voters are turning away from. It's as if the party is irresistibly drawn to its own self-inflicted setbacks.
Here, very clear. One wing is saying don't ever use the word socialist again, and one is saying,
I am a democratic socialist!
Clear, huh? So how do we decide who's right? Well, it turns out we don't really have to flip a coin. We have the evidence. In 2024, 13 Democrats won. In districts, Trump also won. All moderates. This isn't rocket science. All the left-leaning think tanks have done autopsies on 2024, and they all came up with the same message: move to the center. Even the New York Times, which did so much to promote woke politics, now says the partisans are wrong. Moving to the center is the way to win. And Democrats should recognize the party moved too far left on social issues after Obama.
Ma, along with many seasoned political analysts, has been sounding the same warning for years. If Democrats want to stay viable, they must move back to the center. The message is straightforward and long overdue. The party has drifted so far into ideological theatrics that it's forgotten what once made liberalism appealing. According to Ma, Democrats need to step away from the flood of woke policies that push away mainstream voters. People don't want lectures or cultural crusades, they want real solutions, stability, and common sense. By shedding fringe priorities and returning to the core principles that once defined liberalism, personal freedom, fairness, opportunity, and rational governance, the party could start to regain the respect and support it has steadily lost.
Gen Z thinks socialism's wired and capitalism's tired and billionaires are what's for dinner. And who can blame them? If you're 30 and still sharing a bathroom with roommates, capitalism isn't working for you. People will reject any economic system where there's strange hair on the soap. No one wants to be approaching middle age and still writing their name on food before they put it in the fridge. So they're quiet quitting capitalism and texting socialism that they're down to Thing is, socialism will you. Because socialism, to put it simply, just doesn't work and has never worked. Like Kevin Federline.
We've said it time and time again on this channel, and we're not letting it go anytime soon. Socialism has consistently failed wherever it's been put into practice. On paper, it sounds inspiring, almost poetic. The promise of perfect equality, shared wealth, and a system where no one is left behind can easily sweep up any political newcomer. But once the idealism meets reality, the flaws become impossible to overlook. In real-world application, socialism repeatedly runs into the same fundamental issues rooted in human behavior and incentives. People will always find ways to manipulate any system, but socialism practically opens the door to exploitation. Those in power can take advantage of it. Those without incentive can coast through it. And the vision of fairness quickly devolves into stagnation, corruption, and economic decline. That's not cynicism, it's history, reality, and basic common sense.
And it didn't really happen, but it did. We've run this experiment many times, and the results are always obvious. Here's capitalist South Korea at night from space. Here's socialist North Korea. Yeah. In 1990, Venezuela was wealthier than Poland. But then Poland, finally free of Soviet-style economics, went all in on capitalism. And now their economy is as big as Japan. And people there have high wages, low inflation, cars, vacations, homes. Meanwhile, Venezuela traded capitalism for Hugo Chavez's socialism for the 21st century, which turned out to be like socialism in the last century, or any century.
Interestingly, it's the younger generation that seems most drawn to socialism, and it's not hard to see why when you look beneath the surface. For many young people, anything they haven't personally witnessed feels either flawed in execution or never truly attempted. History becomes optional, experience feels outdated. They assume that past failures happened only because those involved lacked their intelligence, technology, or innovative thinking. This mindset leads them to believe they possess the magic formula to finally make an old, flawed system work the way it was meant to. It's a mix of idealism, impatience, and the assumption that modern intentions can automatically fix historical problems. But the reality they often overlook is straightforward. Socialism hasn't failed because of bad operators. It has failed because the system itself is vulnerable to human nature. And no generation, no matter how confident, can rewrite that.
Turned one of Latin America's richest countries into one of its poorest. Low wages, high inflation, shortages, outages, 8 million people fleeing. If you think New York can somehow reinvent this wheel, you're in for a rude awakening.
Many young voters in New York are about to get a wake-up call once Mandani begins implementing his full slate of socialist policies. The utopia they envision, endless benefits, free services, and no consequences, will soon clash with reality. Voting for big promises is exhilarating, but it becomes an entirely different story when those promises begin coming out of your own wallet. Already, Mamdani is openly discussing making New York financially independent from federal funding by raising taxes, a plan that should concern anyone paying close attention. Residents are already leaving the state in record numbers because the taxes and cost of living are overwhelming. If these socialist policies take hold, that exodus is only likely to speed up. And eventually, those who are cheering the loudest will come to a hard realization: socialism isn't a dream, it's a bill. And it always comes due.
Democratic socialism is like a dating profile. Things look great until you meet up in the real world. For example, Bernie Sanders, his big thing was always bringing single-payer health care to our country of 340 million. But when liberal, tie-dyed Vermont tried to do it for a population of 626,000, it collapsed like that poor in the Oval Office last week.
It's both fascinating and concerning how the Democratic Party, especially since the Obama era, has gravitated toward policies that sound idealistic but often fall flat in practice. Instead of prioritizing solutions rooted in real-world results, the focus increasingly shifts toward ideological symbolism. Consider Kamala Harris, who supports policies allowing biological men to compete in women's sports, overlooking clear biological differences and the impact on competitive fairness. Bernie Sanders promotes a nationwide single-payer healthcare system, an idea that may appear noble on paper but faces immense challenges in cost, efficiency, and bureaucracy. And now, we have Zoran Mandani, who believes prosperity can be achieved through free groceries and public transportation, as if handouts alone can solve deep economic issues.
Mandani are not Democrats. They'll be the first to tell you that. They're Democratic Socialists, and that's a very different thing, and I don't think people know that yet. I don't think people realize we already have a lot of socialism. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, unemployment insurance, food stamps, veterans benefits, Pell Grants, COVID-era payments, farm subsidies, disability payments, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, corporate bailouts, and the jobs program that is building weapons the Pentagon doesn't even want. All that is socialism, much of it appropriate to soften the edges of capitalism, but the DSA are radicals about this concept, and radical economic policy is always ineluctably married to radical social.
I recently caught up with an old friend, and this very topic came up. It reminded him, and me, of something we've observed for years. Many of the policies Maher criticizes are already quietly shaping the country. Ideas that sound promising on paper, free benefits, heavy government involvement, and constant redistribution, have gradually embedded themselves into everyday life. The result is a system that too often rewards dependency rather than initiative. It's a slippery slope, and we're beginning to see the consequences. From our conversation, and from watching the political landscape unfold, it's clear that the Democratic Party needs a serious course correction. They must distance themselves from the socialist wing and reclaim practical, centrist policies that resonate with the majority of Americans. If they fail to do so, they risk drifting further into ideological extremes, alienating voters, and triggering consequences that could spiral beyond control. Let me know if you'd like to turn this into a full article, video script, or closing statement for a calm.
Open borders. They're for what Biden was doing, but more. You think you're going to win an election on that? This just seems like more extremism at a time when Americans are begging both parties, please, could just one of you act normal?
We all know who the wild card is in this situation, so there's no need to dwell on it. What we can't overlook, however, is what unfolded at the border under the Biden administration. Kamala Harris's role as the so-called border czar received heavy criticism, and not without reason. As Maher points out, the situation at the border felt chaotic, marked by overwhelmed systems and weak oversight. It was a failure in planning, execution, and accountability, one that pushed the system to its limit. What makes it even more striking is the ongoing political theater surrounding the issue. Many Democrats still focus on Trump, casting his policies as overly harsh, while sidestepping the fact that much of the current turmoil took shape under their own leadership. Accountability, it seems, remains in short supply.
The police or military in the streets, either MAGA's crypto crony capitalism or city-run grocery stores? No, I don't want that. I want a Democrat who reassures me if you like your Whole Foods, you can keep your Whole Foods. Governor-elect Spanberger once said about Biden's presidency that, quote, nobody elected him to be FDR. They elected him to be normal. Normal! You know, at this year's DSA convention, or as it's commonly known, Comic-Con, get this, you had to submit a photo of a negative COVID test to get in. In 2025. Yeah, no one wants to do that shit.
Some of the stories about socialist Democrats are so extreme that they almost sound unbelievable. Take the example Maher highlighted. People were only allowed into a conference if they could show a photo of a negative COVID test. Pause for a second, having digital proof as a gatekeeper for participation sounds absurd, even comical. Yet it's a vivid illustration of how far these policies can stretch, and that's the point. This isn't an isolated incident, it's a glimpse of what could happen if socialism takes hold on a larger scale. Policies like these can feel controlling, impractical, and invasive, leaving citizens frustrated and restricted. From extreme COVID rules to unsustainable socialist promises, the consequences of these approaches are becoming impossible to ignore. Young voters may be drawn to idealistic visions, but reality has a way of crashing the fantasy. History and experience show that socialism, no matter how appealing on paper, struggles under practical scrutiny. If the Democrats want to remain relevant, they need to abandon these extreme policies, return to the center, and focus on solutions that actually work for the majority of Americans. That wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this.